If people in the media cannot decide whether they are in the business of reporting news or manufacturing propaganda, it is all the more important that the public understand that difference and choose their news sources accordingly. Thomas Sowell. What's up, everybody? We back again for another session. Let's dive right into this thing. All right, the national debt is up to 35.3 trillion. Let's take a look and see what we were at last week. Last week I did the video on Saturday, so it's a week and a day difference in the time and the numbers. So last week we were at 35.372. This week we're at 35.394. So we're up 22 billion in the week. When it comes to the debt, they just keep printing more money, keep devaluing the dollar, keep devaluing your time, your energy, all that good stuff. So, well, not good stuff, but all that stuff. So let's see where we're at on the price. We're up back in the 60,000 range, up to 62,910. At the time that I wrote the numbers down, it was 62,980. So it's went up a little bit more from when I did it. But price from last week to this week, we're up $2,900. If we look at all-time high price, so people still have about 14% gains before we reach that all-time high. So people always keep asking, is it too early? Is it too late? And so you're going to have to decide that for yourself. But from the all-time highs, we're still at minus 14% from there. For the market cap, we're at 1.24 trillion. If we can look at get these ads out of here. If we look at all the other assets by market cap, Bitcoin is still hovering around that 10th spot. So like I said, just waiting to bunny hop Meta, and then it should just keep bouncing from there. Do I have it on there? Nope. Let's look at nodes. So reachable nodes right here, we're at about a little over 31,000 reachable nodes. And remember, I started including Tor nodes. And from last week until this week, last week we were at 31,200. At the time that I wrote the numbers down, it was at 30,700. So down a little bit, not anything to be worried about. There's not that big jump like there was last month at the beginning of the month. So let's look at stock charts. So RSI is at 61. So as you can see, the 200 moving average, which is this red line, the price is 63,940. And Bitcoin's price right now is at 63,000 according to this. Sure, if I refresh to get the most up to date, it's down a little bit more. Okay, 62,890 as of right now. So you can see that 200-day moving average is kind of acting as resistance. It's bouncing off of that a few times. So we'll see what's going to happen. RSI is getting kind of hot. So we'll see if we overtake the 200 and keep shooting up and kind of get back up to where all-time high price was here back in middle of March. And we'll see what we do from here. So like I said, based on the theory, if you want to go back and check previous dates, like this chart is for a year out. So if you want to go a couple years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, check and see every time price was around 30 or below. And this is on the daily chart. And you can take a look and see if that was a good time to buy. So let's keep this thing rolling. Some big news as of recently. There's been actually a lot of big things happening in the space. Donald Trump makes historic payment at a pub key, the first U.S. president. I don't know why they put Republican on there, but the first president to make a purchase with using Bitcoin. Looks like he was at a bar. So that's pretty historical. Louisiana state government begins accepting Bitcoin payments. So anything you need to pay to the government agencies, they allow you to pay in Bitcoin, which is really cool. That's, the first one down, 49 more to go. SEC approves options trading on BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF IBIT. This is really great for exposure. Now there's going to be more exposure to the ETF. When people can trade options on an asset, that means they can hedge their position. So there's going to be more liquidity coming into Bitcoin. So that's just all great news for Bitcoin. What else do we got going on? Commerce Bank in Germany to launch Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading services. Their bank services a little over 11 million customers, so that's more exposure. And that's big news for here in the EU and specifically here in Germany. That's just going to keep driving up the demand. MicroStrategy keeps doing what MicroStrategy does. They acquired some more Bitcoin. This time they acquired an additional 489 million worth. They keep leading the way. Some Satoshi era wallets have moved $16 million worth of Bitcoin. So they hodled all the way from zero up until where we're at right now. Based on all the research that people have looked at, it's not from Satoshi's wallet. It looks like it's from some miners from the early days. So go back and look and see who some of those early players were. And I'm sure it's some of them guys. So I'm not going to make no speculations of who it could be, but it's some of those super OGs from the early days. As we can see, we've been in the neutral. We've gotten out of the fear the last few days. We've been hovering in the neutral zone. Like I said, if you go back, look at the correlation between RSI. When RSI starts to go up and gets hot, that's when you'll start to see the fear and greed kind of go towards more greed and extreme greed. If we take a look at the mining cost, so we're down to 74,700. If we take a look at last week, we were at 77,000. And so we're down about 3,000 in mining costs. If we go back and look, like I said, this chart only has back until 2016. So historically, when mining costs have exceeded Bitcoin price, it typically the longest that it stayed at that was about 6 to 9 months. So the high for mining costs was about right here, about the end of April. So we're at about that 5 month, we're coming up about that 5 month range. And so next month, so pretty much the next 3 months will probably tell us if that still holds true or not. So like I said, it's just from this short time. Like I said, it doesn't have all the data from back in 2009 until now. It's just a short window, and we'll see how that data holds true or if it holds up. As far as Bitcoin ETF Bitcoin holdings, we're up a little bit to 911,000 compared to last week. We were at 907,000, so we're up about 4,000 in holdings. Like I said, as Bitcoin price continues to go up, we'll see that number go up. If we see a dip in the Bitcoin price, we'll see that number go down. So just like how people's emotions act that are holding actual Bitcoin, people have diamond fingers and they'll sell when the price is dipping. And then big whales like MicroStrategy, the people who understand Bitcoin, are scooping those up. And those big institutional players are scooping up when anything happens and people get that fear. And then also the same happens with people that are holding in ETFs. They want to sell out. They have the same fear as well. So it works both ways. People have that fear, whether if they're holding Bitcoin the asset or Bitcoin as an ETF. And if we take a look at some mining costs, let's bring this up. We'll do for the last week. For the last week, you can see there's been a big shoot up, and we've been pretty much hovering between 600 and the high 700s for the most part. So today we're at 622 hash. That just means the strength of the security is growing. So there's more miners out there, and that's just helping the security of the network. And we want to keep seeing this number continue to keep grow. That means the security for the system for everybody is getting stronger. A podcast, or not a podcast, a documentary that I watched recently, which was really good, that I recommend for you guys, is this Inside a Secret Chinese Bitcoin Mine. It's only a 9-minute short documentary. Go back and see the conviction that these people had. it says that it was 9 years ago, but I'm not sure what the exact time frame was. So it says here in 2014. So it was somewhere around there. It was at least 9 years or further back. So go back, watch this, see the conviction that they had. These guys went all in. They were setting up beds in their mining area. They were going all in. They had the conviction. They did their research. They knew, about governments being able to just print money as they please. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're in China, it doesn't matter if you're in Africa, it doesn't matter if you're in the United States, South America, Australia, wherever you're at, all governments have access to a money printer, and the same thing is going to happen to all citizens. Some citizens, it's just going to happen a lot worse, like down in Venezuela and all these other countries that are dealing with hyperinflation, Turkey, just to name a few. It's gonna be a trickle effect that's gonna start reaching to every country eventually. People can see it already when you're buying groceries. You can see it when you're getting gas. You can see it with your rent going up. You can see it in just everyday life, and that comes from there being no repercussion to these central banks to continue to just keep printing money. And like I said, it's called the Cantillon effect. Those people that are closest to the money printer are the ones that are benefiting the most. The middle class is pretty much being wiped out. More people are going on government assistance, and that's pretty much what they want. The government wants to take full control. They want as many people relying on them as they can, so then they can start taking away a lot of rights. And we already see this happening. And look what's going on in the UK with people being able to be arrested based on things that they're posting on social media. Look at what happened in Canada when people were peacefully protesting, they were getting their bank shut down. Look at a lot of activists who were exposing the governments for what they're doing. They were locking those guys up, putting those guys in jail, seizing their assets, all that stuff, right? So we want to get towards a decentralized life, right? We want everything to be decentralized. That way, there is no control of our money. There is no control over our assets. There is no, we need to take, as an individual, you need to take control of your time, your money, your assets, and all that stuff. Okay, without going too deep into that. An article that I read recently was against intellectual property. Got some notes down here for us. So intellectual property IP laws like patents and copyrights do not help innovation or creativity. Instead, the authors claim that these laws give too much power to few companies, stifling competition and making it harder for new ideas to grow. So if you want a good read, it was a pretty decent sized read. Go check that out. Like I said, there's a bunch of good stuff on the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute. Majority of it is free. There will be some articles that you'll have to pay for. And one last thing that I have for you guys, a podcast that I watched recently, which was really good. Bill Miller, he did his thing on this one. Go check this out on Walker the Bitcoin's podcast. It was an hour and 25 minutes long, and it was a good listen. So go check that out. And let's take a look at some of my updates on the DCA journey. So dollar cost averaging. So I'm acting as a guinea pig for you guys to see the power of dollar cost averaging. Okay, I'm using $100 a week just to give you guys example for numbers, but whatever you're at, if you can do $5 a week, $10 a week, $1,000 a week, $100,000 a week, there's going to be people that are, their funds look different. So I'm just trying to show you guys what the power of DCAing can do. So these are all the contributions that I've made so far starting July 29th. So I have an auto buy. So before, and I also use Strike. Shout out to Jack Mallers and everything that those guys are doing over there. So when I first started out doing this, I didn't have it as an auto buy. They waived their fee if you do auto buy. So I set up auto buy starting 19 August. And these are the prices that I was accumulating Bitcoin at. And then these are the amounts of Bitcoin that I was getting at those time of purchases. So far, if we're measuring in US dollars, I've purchased $800 worth of Bitcoin up until this point. Tomorrow will be another auto buy. This is how much Bitcoin I've accumulated over those buys. And based on today's value, when I was recording this video, 62,980 was Bitcoin's price today, which is the 22nd of September. it equals a total of $845.57. So my purchasing power has grown by 5%. So if you guys remember, there was a time where I was down, there was a time where I've been up, down. As you can see, the first purchase was at 67,000, and then we dropped all the way down to 53,000, 59, 59, 62, 59, 56, 58. So this is the whole point of the power of dollar cost averaging every single week. Some weeks the price was really high, some weeks the price was really low. So it's kind of averaging out. So far I'm up 5% and I haven't had to do anything. I haven't had to think about anything. It took work for me to get to the level of understanding of Bitcoin to where I'm at today. That part is going to take work and research, and you're going to have to keep reading a lot of books, reading articles, watching podcasts, watching documentaries, and doing your own research, going down the rabbit hole, figuring out what is money, figuring out why does the central banks keep on printing so much money? Why do the governments want so much control? So you have to kind of go down this journey and get that conviction for yourself, so that way you can ride out the times when the price dips, when the price rises. You gotta understand this is a very volatile asset. Even though we're in the 60,000 range and it started at zero, it's been around 15 years. We're still in the early adoption phases. There's still a lot of people that they've heard of Bitcoin, but they don't own any Bitcoin. They couldn't tell you anything about Bitcoin. They still have that fear for whatever reason, even though ETFs got approved, even though banks are adopting it, even though sovereign nations are adopting it, even though presidential candidates are accepting it as form of donation for their presidency race. States are starting to adopt it. Nation countries are adopting it. So it's all about taking time out of your day, and there's so much that they put in front of us to keep people busy, keep people distracted from the things that are really important, right? And money isn't everything, but money controls where your time goes. For the people that say I don't care about money, they'll turn around and they'll spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day away from their family, away from doing things that they love, working for a company or a job that they hate, that they're miserable at, but then they'll turn around and say they don't care about money. So money is not everything, but in the real world, in the life that we all live in today, our everyday life costs money. You can't leave the house and not spend $100 these days. And sometimes I feel like it's even $200. So life costs money. And if you have family, your family is relying on you to provide for them. If you have children, if you have whoever you need to take care of, everything costs money. If you're relying on the government to fully take care of you, and I understand that there's some people that have disabilities and there's nothing that they can do about that, but there are people that don't have disabilities and they're just taking advantage, and they think that because they're getting their rent paid, because they have EBT, getting a few dollars thrown at them for food, education being taken over, getting these things for free. You're not getting this stuff for free. The government is getting paid off of you in other ways that a lot of people don't realize. They're keeping you in a box. They're keeping you under their control pretty much. Okay. So you're always paying for something. There is no such thing as a free lunch, right? You'll have to pay for it in other ways. So keep that stuff in mind, and just keep staying true, and figure out what's important to you, and go through it. So anyways, to keep moving on, a book that I started recently was Gradually Then Suddenly. Here it is right here, by Parker A. Lewis. Really great book. So it's like it says on here, it's a framework for understanding Bitcoin as money. So I just started it out. So far, so good. And I'll keep you guys updated on that. Some audiobooks that I'm listening to. I started listening to Antifragile, and I don't want to say it's not a good book, but it's just a tough listen for me. I like those books that, I don't are a little more grabbing and exciting. But I don't want to say that it's not important, but it's pretty much talking about all the things that are anti-fragile, right? So everyone knows what fragile is, things that can break easily. So anti-fragile is pretty much the opposite of that. So he's talking about a lot of things in life, and it's not bad, but it's kind of a slow read. So hopefully it picks up a little bit for me. Not saying that it's a bad book. And then I also started The Power of Habit. I listened to it before, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I probably listened to it, so I'm re-listening to that one again. And it's always good when you find those books that you like, or whether it be hard copy or audio version, to go back and re-listen to those, especially something that talks about your habits and building up habits and things like that. So that's a good read. I like to combine The Power of Habit, Atomic Habits, and Outwitting the Devil together. So after I'm finished with The Power of Habit, I'll dive back into Atomic Habits, and after that, I'll dive back into Outwitting the Devil, and then I'll recycle those three. So I like to listen to those three, and then I'll add something else after those. So some updates on my fold. So this week, fold blessed me a little bit more than Fountain did. The week before that, it was switched, and the week before that, it was switched as well. So I'm almost at 1,000 sats on fold. I'm almost at 400 sats on Fountain, and I've talked about Fold and Fountain on previous videos. For Sailor Academy, I'm slacking. I just got back. I've been bouncing around Europe. Well, I'm still in Europe, but I just been bouncing around, and I kind of put that on the back burner, but I need to get that back going again. Both of my miners are running smooth. Still no solo hit. Another solo miner just hit one, and my node is still up and running. And I told you guys I'm not able to add any apps, which is kind of unfortunate, but I figured out how I'll be able to do it moving forward. Once I get back to the States, I have everything that I need to get and set up. So that way I'll be able to access my router while I'm on the go. So I've been going down the rabbit hole on that as well. So a lot of good information. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate any of you that have tapped in and made it all the way through. And like I said, this is number 9, coming up on number 10. So once I hit number 10, I'm gonna do some upgrades to this, and every 10th show, I'm gonna try to do something a little bit better. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.